Hey, I hope you're having a great day. So today I want to show you how to make a chicken Kiev, how to debone it, and then how to stuff it properly and cook it properly so that you can succeed with your chicken Kiev anytime.
So first I want to show you how to debone the chicken for Chicken Kiev. So because it's hard to get those things in the supermarket, so you save yourself a lot of money as well if you start deboning your own chicken. You can learn it all in my online courses. So first what I do, I French debone, which means I literally just cut in between the two muscles, between wing muscles and breast muscles. Then scrape along the bone to break that silver skin. And once you break that silver skin and you pull it off like you see here, and it will just stick to the wing. And then you just cut it off on the other side. So I show that once again. So cut in between the two muscles, between the breast muscles and the wing muscles. Scrape along the bone to break the silver skin. Go to the knuckle, flip it over, push the bone aside, and the silver skin will stick to the wing. And so you have wrenched your chicken wing bones without having too much scraping around. So then to fillet it, all you need to do now, you feel for the middle bone. So what I'm trying to do now, feel for that cartilagey bone in the middle there, and you cut down on one side. It doesn't matter on which side, either left or right, that's fine. Now break the wishbone, because if you're not very trained at that, you could make a real mess. You can learn it again in my online cooking school. But in this case, just break it and then we will slice it off later on. So then you just slice along the chicken carcass. One side of your blade should be bones, the other side of your blade should be meat. If you cut into meat, you messed it up. If you cut through bones or cartilage, you've gone too far. And eventually it will just come out on the other side. So what you see here now, that's my chicken breast. And I have plenty of skin on it because I made sure when I removed the legs that I kept all the skin on the breast side. So now to cut the second piece off, pretty easy. Same thing, break the wishbone, slice along the carcass. One side of your blade is meat, one side of your blade is bone and cartilage. And then just fiddle your way through that knuckle of the wing bone, which I'm just doing now. And here we go, there is your breast. So you see there's no wastage. The next thing we do now is obviously trim it all off a bit. So if you find that skin is really soggy at the ends, you cut it off a little bit, but leave on as much skin as you can if you want to make it supreme, if you just want to pan fry it. Just want to show you that as well, because in case you want to make a chicken supreme or you do not want to crumb your Kiev, which then it's obviously not a Kiev anymore, you can leave the skin on because it's a really nice flavor and keeps the meat really nice and moist. So the next thing I'm going to show you now is how to stuff it. For that you literally need to move away. So now first I'll show you how to slice off the wishbone. So it's just sitting there right on the top. And if you have any other sort of, that's the last bit of the wishbone there, just slice it all off. Comes off pretty easy because it will just sit there right on the top. And here we go, just slice it off. And now you have removed your, or half your wishbone too. You do the same thing on the second side, so the wishbone is now removed. So next thing we do is you need to move the fillet aside because you need to poke a hole in it, and you do not want to poke a hole in it if that fillet is on, because you might not exactly know where your blade goes and then you get a hole in your Kiev. So go down with a narrow blade, go right on the bottom. You can see that now, I'm right on the bottom there, and you make a big pocket on the bottom. Keep the opening on the top as small as you can, because you need to get all your stuffing all the way down to the bottom, to the lower 2/3. You don't want to have any stuffing in the upper 2/3 because it will push up anyway the moment you start cooking a chicken and the protein start to denature and harden. It will push your filling up anyway. So now that's the way you made your chicken Kiev. That's how you made the pocket. Here's your recipe for your garlic butter, and all you do is just crush some garlic and chop it really fine. And then we will also take some parsley and we take some butter and we mix that all together. And when you fill it into your chicken Kiev, just make sure that the butter is quite soft and creamy, because if it's too hard, you simply will not get it down the captivity and you will not be able to fill your chicken Kiev really, really nicely. So parsley, can you put other herbs in it? Yeah, if you want to keep it very Russian, you probably put a bit of Russian tarragon in it. You could also add a dash of Pernod, which the French like to do, and I'll tell you a bit about the history of the dish. Versions of that history, one says that it was originally invented in the Muscovy region, and it was a chicken breast that was cooked in a buttery sauce, and then it was covered with breadcrumbs. Other claims said that sort of in the 18th century, Russian chefs have adopted a technique from the French haute cuisine. And apparently it was first invented by Marie-Antoine Carême, who was brought to the Russian courts, and he cooked the dish there, which was very similar to a Chicken Kiev. And then basically the Russians adopted that idea, and basically Chicken Kiev became now a Russian dish with French origins, and it's obviously served all over the world. You can buy it in supermarkets, and now I quickly want to show you how to stuff it. So get your garlic butter in there. So my garlic butter is a bit too firm, I have to be honest with you, so I will struggle here a bit, and I just wanted to show you that, because if your butter is not super soft, you will have to push it in a bit harder like I do here. So now I push the butter down. Either way, what you want to do, if you want to make it really soft, it's obviously a bit easier. If you want to keep it harder, then you obviously have the advantage of it sort of being easier to mold into it. But the main thing you need to do before you deep fry it, like which I will show in a second, you definitely have to put it in the fridge or in the freezer for an hour, because you want the butter to go really, really cold so it doesn't melt too quickly. So then close up the top with some toothpicks, and now obviously I'm gonna crumb it. So I will remove the skin from my chicken fillet. I could have done that beforehand. And here we go, that's your Chicken Kiev. You can see there's a nice lump of butter inside which will melt away. So now it goes in the fridge for an hour. And then I will show you how to crumb it. And I will tell you a little bit about more how it's perfectly cooked and what you need to consider about it. So going back to that recipe, it's obviously called a côtelette de volaille, which is a chicken cutlet, and that's how it originally came into origin. So, and then Carême obviously stuffed it. So basically made a schnitzel, a chicken schnitzel, and stuffed that with garlic. And through a sort of evolution of that dish over the years in Russia, it became a chicken breast. It sort of was adopted to the way of Russian cooking. So instead of making a schnitzel and filling that with garlic butter, like you have that a little bit with the cordon bleu, so the Russians adopted their own version, and since then we have the chicken breast whole, and now it's getting crumbed, and you can definitely see the similarities to also the Austrian or the Milanese schnitzel. And it is probably one of the fanciest ways of doing a chicken, because the garlic butter just oozes in so nicely. So then heat up your oil. So you start off with 150 degrees, and I'll put you the descriptions there. Then cook it for 10 or 12 minutes, and then you need to let it rest, because what you need to consider is that the chicken, especially on the thicker parts, will take a little bit longer to cook. So the heat, as it usually works, it travels from the outside to the inside of the meat, and so that it will also melt the garlic butter nicely, and the meat will be really, really nice and juicy. And that's one of the big advantages of that dish, is obviously that you have one of the juiciest chicken breasts you can ever have. But you can check that all out on my online courses, where you literally have an endless amount of how to debone poultry, ducks, quails, chickens, and how to cook them in all the different ways. So now take it out of the oil, and you can see it's nice and crusty, and don't go on a too high heat. So 150 degrees is the right heat, and then let it rest for a few minutes before we then remove the toothpicks, obviously, and enjoy that Russian national, or one of the Russian national dishes today. And it's also served. I had once the best version. I had that actually in Paris, in a Michelin Star restaurant in Paris by a chef called Bernard Bacot, and he had that on the menu. And I remember when I used to work at London at Marco Pierre White, he also had it on the menu. And if it's done properly, it is one of the nicest dishes you can ever make. So here's a chicken Kiev.
So I hope you enjoyed that, and you could see you could pre-make that, you could also freeze it down. It works pretty well, it works every time, so please check out my other videos. Sign up to my channel, check out my online cooking school, and I look forward to seeing you in one of my other videos.